Welcome to another episode of the Bug Bite, hosted by yours truly, Tech Coach Ralph, where we're engineered to win. In today's episode, we are going to be discussing this new lawsuit by the DOJ. Yes, our favorite DOJ came out with a new lawsuit. So we're going to be investigating that to see what in the world is going on with this lawsuit. It's kind of interesting on the timing, right? We just started hearing about these potential federal price controls, on groceries, on rent and stuff like that. In some cities or in some states, they have these rent controlled buildings and stuff like that. But there is a lawsuit that has started where many states have joined board, where they are suing this one particular company over it's like an algorithm. So we're going to look into that today. But before we go on any further, I am Tech Coach Ralph. We're engineered to win. If you haven't done so already, do me a big favor. Like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, help us grow. And if you need additional content, if you want to see our smart reviews for free, the smart reviews that I do with my tech barbarians, and if you want to sign up for one-on-one coaching, go over to techcoachralph.dev. You see what we have there. Like I said, we have one-on-one coaching. You can access the sprint reviews. We can access exclusive content that is not on YouTube. That's techcoachralph.dev. All right. But let's just jump into this. We're going to watch a little video and then we're going to get into this article to see what's going on with this whole new lawsuit about rent prices, right? I haven't even watched the video yet. I skimmed through the article, but I wanted to review it with everyone here together, right? So let's jump into the video first. All right, so this company is called RealPage, and we're going to be watching this video from CBS, which is talking about this lawsuit.
The Justice Department filed an antitrust lawsuit against real estate software company RealPage on Friday. Federal regulators are accusing the company of colluding with landlords to raise the rents on millions of Americans utilizing artificial intelligence software. Attorney General Merrick Garland explained how on Friday afternoon.
RealPage sells landlords what it calls, quote, revenue management software. We allege that this software is developed, marketed, and sold to enable landlords to sidestep vigorous competition in the rental market.
CBS News senior business and technology correspondent Joling Kent joins us now from LA. So Joling, give us some background. What is RealPage? How is it supposed to be utilized?
RealPage is a revenue management software for landlords and other members of the real estate community to figure out how to price rental properties. And according to the DOJ, they have used and fed confidential information into their algorithm and allowed that algorithm to offer options that illegally conduct antitrust activity violating the Sherman Antitrust Act. And so what the DOJ is saying, essentially, the way that Attorney General Merrick Garland put it is the rent is too damn high and this is contributing to it. And essentially, it is allowing landlords to justify maximizing rent hikes. And this comes as, of course, rent makes up the largest portion of inflation data that we're always here reporting on, right? And the DOJ is alleging that RealPage is acting in a monopolistic manner. Now, of course, RealPage has come out in response to this. And I want to read you their statement here. They said that their software is purposely built to be legally compliant. And they also added that landlords decide their own rent prices, always have 100% discretion to accept or reject software price recommendations there. And they have a history of working constructively with the DOJ to show that.
So, Joling, I was looking at this complaint and trying to understand it because there's a lot of information out there about what rents are, and landlords will price their rents based off of what they see. And in this case, AI aggregates that information and uses some other confidential information, as I understand it. But I'm still trying to understand the accusation that the DOJ is making about how RealPage colluded with landlords. Can you explain how that collusion took place?
Yes.
So that's what I'm waiting to hear as well. It's kind of like, when we think about the whole Google antitrust lawsuit with the DOJ, I'm very curious to hear how this is happening. But I've heard that there are many states that have jumped in on this lawsuit. So I don't know. We'll see. I'm just curious. I am a very, maybe it's because I'm in QA, but I am a very, very, very skeptical person, especially when it comes to the government suing companies. So let's see.
So in the complaint, the DOJ alleges that it found evidence of customers, which are landlords, of RealPage using their software, complementing RealPage for allowing classic price fixing, for example. And there's multiple examples that are cited in the lawsuit that go on to show that RealPage was helping landlords raise prices and in some cases minimize price decreases. And so these examples are what the DOJ is leaning on to make this argument. But what's really interesting here too is that the
How? Like, I guess we have to go and pull out this whole lawsuit and read thousands and thousands and thousands of pages. Because I just like, I don't know right now, but I always want to know the how. Like when I was in second grade, I was taught to always ask who, what, when, where, and how. Right? So that's what I'm trying to understand. What is it that we're talking about here? I'm not saying I agree or disagree with the lawsuit. I'm just trying to get some information. It's like we can't get any information nowadays. Like with this DOJ and all these entities, like it's just, I don't know.
DOJ went about this investigation in a way that it hasn't traditionally. It used individuals who were data scientists to linearly interrogate the code and look at specific issues of the technology from RealPage, and in order to come to this conclusion. And if you think about it, the Attorney General, Merrick Garland, he did say that
Mitch did it. Yep. Well, it's totally Mitch's fault. I'm just kidding, Mitch. I don't want to catch those hands, Mitch. Let's keep watching.
This morning, and he's correct in this, that Americans spend more money on housing than any other expense. Almost half of the households that are renting right now spend close to a third of their income on rent. And so as a result, this is why the DOJ says they're bringing this type of landmark action.
So it's really interesting. And so I'm wondering, Jillian, if the DOJ prevails in this lawsuit, could consumers whose landlords used this software to raise their rents have any recourse? Might they see some of that money back in their pocketbooks?
So relief is always the second step in a complaint in a lawsuit like this, especially coming from the Justice Department. First, they have to decide where the liability is and who is responsible. So I hate to say this, but it's going to be a long time of the court proceedings and all of that lead up. It could take a couple of years, as we've seen in some of these other antitrust lawsuits in the case of DOJ winning against Google recently. So it'll probably take a couple of years to decide what the outcome actually is. And then there will be a separate determination, trial, or mediation that will then lead to what is called the relief stage of this, the decision. So it depends on a lot of different things. It's going to be a long time, but certainly this is top of mind, especially when you think about how rent has gone up. According to the latest CPI data, it's up 5.1% last month compared to the year before. And inflation is.
My question again is why? Is the rent up for everybody because of this software, RealPage? Or is there another reason? I guess maybe I'm the crazy one who wants details to understand like what is being alleged, but maybe it's just me. But let's finish this video off.
Sitting, just below 3%. So it still is outpacing headline inflation. A lot of people are feeling that right now.
Yeah, and a lot of times with these class action suits, it's pennies on the dollar for the victims. All right, Jillian Kent in Los Angeles, a really interesting story. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so that is the video about this RealPage. Let's get into the article and let's see if there's any more information in the article. So let's jump into it, all right? But do me a favor, before we do that, if you haven't done so already, do me a favor, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, and go over to techcoachdrop.dev if you want additional content, if you want to work with me one-on-one. You can also access the sprint reviews that I do with the Tech Barbarians for free. So definitely check that out. All right. So let's go over to the article now. All right. This article is brought to us by wired.com. And it's about what we just read. The apartment rental market is rigged by algorithms, a DOJ lawsuit alleges. So the U.S. Department of Justice claims that a company called RealPage is responsible for price fixing across millions of apartment rental units nationwide. Here's a question. I just thought about something, right? Are rent-controlled apartments also price fixing? So if the government is controlling the prices, then that's okay. If this alleged company called RealPage is controlling it, then we have a lawsuit. All right, I'm with it. Let's read, right? So that's because I might be totally wrong. Like I said, I can't be wrong because I don't have a perspective on this yet. I'm just learning about this now. We're reviewing it together. All right. So if you've rented an apartment in the US in the past several years, you may have had the sense that the game was rigged. Prices creep up not only at your building, but at others throughout the city, seemingly in lockstep. A new civil lawsuit brought by the U.S. Department of Justice today alleges that in many cases, it's not just in your head and that a single company algorithm is to blame. That company is RealPage, a Texas-based firm that provides commercial revenue management software for landlords. So they provide a software for landlords. In other words, it helps set the price of apartments, but it does so, the DOJ alleges, the Department of Justice alleges in the lawsuit, by effectively helping its clients cheat. Landlords feed rental rates and lease terms into the system, and RealPage algorithm turns it and in turn spits out a suggested price that enables coordination and hinders competition. So here's a question, right? If the algorithm is aggregating data to see, okay, based on the location, based on the lease and the rental rate, and now compare it to other rental properties, and let's say you want to sign a 12-month lease, compared to another person or another landlord whose rate is whose lease term is also 12 months in this similar area, or maybe you can compare it to somewhere that's not even similar, right? What would you suggest, right? And now it's giving you a quote unquote a suggestion to put your prices that, right? All right, so let's keep going, because I have something that I'm thinking, like when it comes to rental and stuff like that, I have something that I'm thinking, right? So by feeding sensitive data into a sophisticated algorithm powered by artificial intelligence, RealPage has found a modern way to violate a century-old law through systematic coordination of rental housing prices, Deputy Attorney General Lisa Monaco said in a statement, all right? Let's see. RealPage's reach is broad. It controls 80% of the market for software of its kind, which in turn is used to set prices of around 3 million units across the country, according to the DOJ. So the question is, here's the question. My question is, are they the ones who are setting it, or are people using it as a tool to get recommendation? Like, based on what's going on, should I use this or not? Are people being forced to use it as well? Kind of reminds me of the CrowdStrike issue, where so many computers went down and nobody was really being forced to use the CrowdStrike, just like our landlords being forced to use this RealPage, right? But let's keep going. So it controls, all right. So it already faces multiple lawsuits, including one from the state of Arizona and another Washington, D.C., where RealPage software is allegedly used to price more than 90% of units in large apartment buildings. RealPage algorithmic pricing first gained broader attention when a 2022 ProPublica investigation detailed how the company's YieldStar software works. I would like to get those details. The DOJ civil lawsuit, which was joined by the attorney generals of 8 states, is a significant escalation in legal action against the company. It's also a first for the DOJ, according to officials speaking on background during a call to discuss the complaint. While the government had previously filed criminal charges against an Amazon seller for algorithm-enabled price fixing, this is the first civil action in which the algorithm itself, the Justice Department official says, was effectively the means of the violation. I'm still not getting enough information to understand this. I don't get it. Because, all right, so here's the thing. When it comes to pricing and stuff, right? I guess the way that they can say it's price fixing is if everyone is charging the same amount of rent, but then if everyone is charging the same amount of rent, but then And like, so yeah, if, I guess everyone is charging the same amount of rent, then it's going to force the price to be whatever everyone says, right? I don't know. Because I mean, if this algorithm is spitting out that everyone has to pay the same amount and everyone goes with that recommendation, but if no one is, if people can't afford it and they can't move into it, then it's going to force the. So we're gonna come back to that because we're gonna come back to that, right? And I got you. We're gonna come back to that, right? So let's keep going. The complaint itself quotes RealPage executives allegedly acknowledging anti-competitive aspects of its product. There is a greater good in everybody succeeding versus essentially trying to compete against one another in a way that actually keeps the entire industry down, one RealPage executive allegedly wrote. RealPage has repeatedly denied any allegations of antitrust violations, going as far as to publish a 6-page digital pamphlet that claims to tell the real story about its products, along with an extensive FAQ page on a dedicated public policy website. The company did not immediately respond to a request for comment. Attacks on the industry revenue management are based on demonstrably false information. One section of the site reads, RealPage revenue management software benefits both housing providers and residents. And it says, we are disappointed that after multiple years of education and cooperation with the antitrust matters concerning RealPage, the DOJ has chosen this moment to pursue a lawsuit that seeks to scapegoat pro-competitive technology that has been used responsibly for years, says Jennifer Babcock, Senior Vice President of Communications and Creative at RealPage, in an email statement. RealPage's revenue management software is purposely built to be legally compliant, and we have a long history of working constructively with the DOJ to show that. The DOJ disagrees. Algorithms don't exist in a law-free zone, said Monaco in a press conference to discuss the case. Training a machine to break the law is still breaking the law. Let me see. And I really want to know exactly what the law that's been broken or violated, but let's keep going. So in this case, the complaint alleges that those algorithms consistently drove rental prices upward. RealPage software tends to maximize price increases, minimize price decreases, and maximize landlord pricing power, said the DOJ in a press release. RealPage also doesn't just recommend prices. In many cases, it actively sets them. RealPage's actively policies landlords' compliance with those recommendations, said U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland in today's press conference. A large number of landlords effectively agreed to outsource their pricing decision to RealPage by using an auto accept setting that effectively permits RealPage to determine the price a renter will pay. So the other side is there still needs to be a renter to agree to pay for that, right? So that's one aspect of it. Let's see. The DOJ also claims RealPage has created a self-reinforcing feedback loop with its data intake and pricing recommendations structure that also gives it an alleged monopoly in the apartment revenue management software industry. So now, because they're like one of the few that people want to use, I got you. Okay, so any competitor who plays by the rules, and the DOJ claims is at a distinct disadvantage. The Department of Justice has spent the past several years staffing up with technologists and data scientists, better enabling them to interrogate the code as multiple officials describe the investigative process. While this is the first major public collusion case, the DOJ officials suggest it would be far from the last. All right, so let's go back here. Here's the thing, right? I just wonder, is it possible that prices are going up because prices going up, food is going up, everything, like, electricity is going up because there has been an influx of people, right? So there's a more demand, but the buying power stays the same. So all right, here's the question. Is it ever the government's fault for anything, right? If there are, like, let's say, for example, with this policy of $25,000 to buy a home for the first time. Now, is there going to be a a law in place, right? Is it going to be price fixing when all prices go up by $25,000? Just some of the things that I'm wondering, like, if you are giving things away for free, like giving, I mean, it's not free to me or to you, but if you're giving things away to other people who haven't actually earned it or worked for it, and now they are using that to pay for the rent. So let's say rent is at like $3,000, right? And you give somebody $4,000. Now, or I take it back. Let's say rent is at $1,500, right? And now let's say I'm trying to pay my rent for $1,500 and I'm kind of struggling to pay it because I didn't make more money. But now, I'm bidding to get this apartment. But now someone else comes in where they were given like $4,000, and now they go for the same apartment that I'm trying to go for, and they say, "Well, I'll give you $2,000 so I can get the apartment." Right? That's going to raise the price of rent for everybody. So now, from my understanding so far, which I said I could be totally wrong about this whole thing, right? But when there's an influx of people and money, right, they can actually compete against the people who don't have that money. So now, if the algorithm is saying, all right, now that the demand for properties is high, and that the average price of a rent is $2,000, like, oh, well, you're paying $2,000. Well, I really want this place, so I'm going to pay $2,500 for it. Now, more people are paying $2,500, and that's going to increase the price. So I guess I just don't know all the details of this, because the DOJ hasn't given any details in the articles that we've read, in the video that we've read. They're just saying that, hey, they talked about working together instead of working against each other. Okay, I got you. But I don't see the details yet of the price fixing itself. But we will keep an eye on this story. We'll review. Let me know your thoughts about this, all right? I'm curious to know, like, do you know any details about this RealPage lawsuit? I don't know anything about it. I just learned about it, and I just wanted to, like, I'm just going based on the video that we watched and what I read on my initial thoughts, but it could totally change as information comes out, right? But I do find it pretty interesting that the DOJ is hiring data scientists and people like that so that they can help them with their investigations. But yeah, that's about it. That is about it for the Bug Bite today. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Hopefully you had a good time. Hopefully you enjoyed the information that we reviewed about this lawsuit. We're going to keep a very close eye on it, because you know how people always say that the rent is too damn high. But is the rent that high because it is being distributed against people who are given things that opportunities that you don't have? That's a good question. That's my question. That is my question. And is it price fixing as well when the government implements price controls on properties? I don't know. Let me know your thoughts. Let me know your thoughts in the comment. But we're gonna get out of here. If you haven't done so already, do me a big favor. Subscribe to the channel, like the video, share the video, all of that good stuff. If you need more information, if you want one-on-one if you want to work with me one-on-one, if you want access to our free sprint reviews, I just uploaded one earlier this week, so you definitely want to check that out, see what we're working on. But until next, you go to techcoachralph.dev, right? Techcoachralph.dev. Don't forget, go to techcoachralph.dev right now. But with that being said, I'm gonna get out of here. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Bug Bite. This is Tech Coach Ralph. We are out.